Societies and technologies continuously evolve, and so does our approach to building cities. Today, supercharged by changes to how we live, work, and play, we are witnessing a boom in mixed-use urban development projects that are creating the most exciting neighborhoods within our cities.
Since the beginning of our journey in 2013, WiredScore's mission has been to make the world's buildings smarter and better connected by empowering people and spaces through technology. With WiredScore and SmartScore certifications for neighborhoods, we're supporting the landlords and developers of the most innovative neighborhood projects in the world to create districts that connect and inspire their communities.
WiredScore and SmartScore certifications for neighborhoods are global rating systems that improve, benchmark, and promote advanced technology at both master plan and building level. WiredScore certification assesses the digital connectivity infrastructure that underpins the neighborhood, while SmartScore certification assesses the use of smart technology to deliver the ultimate experience for the community. The neighborhood certifications are a seal of quality. They signify that a district and the buildings within it are designed and managed in such a way that the people who spend time in them will feel connected with fast, reliable internet and mobile coverage and free public Wi-Fi. Stay safe with technology systems in place to protect against physical and digital threats. Live and work sustainably, helped by technology to reduce their environmental impact. And get inspired thanks to digital services that bring people together.
The future of urban societies is going to be shaped by emerging technologies like artificial intelligence, the Internet of Things, and robotics. Successful neighborhoods will be those able to adapt to the changing occupier demands. We're excited to partner with the global real estate innovators who are pushing the boundaries of technological excellence through WiredScore and SmartScore certifications. Hello, and welcome to WiredScore's Global Smart Neighborhood Summit. My name is William Newton, I'm WiredScore's CEO, and I'm delighted to be your host. It is my great pleasure to be here with you all today, celebrating the incredible developers who are shaping the future of urban living through smart neighborhoods. These projects are about much more than buildings. They're about creating environments where people thrive. Through world-class design, underpinned by human-centric technology, these neighborhoods help us connect, stay safe, live and work sustainably, and be inspired by our surroundings. At WiredScore, we are proud to be working with forward-thinking developers. Over the past decade, we've set the global standard for technology in commercial and multifamily buildings. Now, with our WiredScore and SmartScore certifications, we're expanding our focus to entire neighborhoods, helping to shape the cities of tomorrow. It is an honor to recognize the neighborhood projects leading the way in human-centric technology design across the globe today, all of whom have demonstrated their commitment to the future by partnering with WiredScore. From west to east, we are celebrating South Flats in Canada by Low Tide Properties and PCI. Cambridge Crossing in the US by Divco West. Entrecampos in Portugal by developer Fidelidade. Cleves Riverside Quarter in Ireland by Limerick 2030. Media City in the UK by Peel. Brent Cross Town in the UK by Related Argent and Barnet Council. Canada Water in the UK by British Land and Australian Super. Chorus Life Bergamo in Italy by Costim Group. King Abdullah Financial District in Saudi Arabia by CAFT. Gaff Woods in the United Arab Emirates by Majid Al Futtaim. Hong Kong Shenzhen Innovation and Technology Park in Hong Kong by HSITP. Each of these projects represents the future of city living, They are pioneering developments that embrace human-centered technology to improve quality of life and foster vibrant, connected communities. As we kick off today's summit, I want to reflect on why this work is so important, why smart neighborhoods are becoming the blueprint for large-scale urban regeneration. There are two historical figures I wanted to talk about who have radically changed how we think about cities and whose influence is evident in many of the neighborhoods that we are celebrating today. Ebenezer Howard is often considered the father of modern urban planning. In the late 19th century, he laid the groundwork for what we now call human-centric urban design. Howard saw the growing issues of overcrowding and pollution in industrializing cities across England. A liberal social reformer at heart, he believed there had to be a better way to organize urban life. His solution? The Garden City movement. Howard's vision was revolutionary. The garden cities he founded, Letchworth and Welwyn, and those he inspired, like Henrietta Barnett's Hampstead Garden Suburb, and indeed Walt Disney's Disneyland, were designed to be more than just places to live. They were meant to foster a sense of community, with housing, workspaces, green spaces, and social amenities all integrated into a self-sustaining place. Howard's approach to urban planning was focused on human well-being, balance, and sustainability, principles that resonate deeply with what we're trying to achieve with smart neighborhoods today. I think his ideas about integrating work, life, and leisure in a way that promotes connection and community are really at the core of modern urban regeneration. What Howard proposed over 100 years ago, that blend of nature and infrastructure and community, has been magnified today through the use of technology. While Ebenezer Howard was envisaging peaceful, balanced communities, Daniel Burnham, another giant of urban planning, was imagining cities at a grander scale in the early 20th century. His approach was driven by the belief that urban design could elevate society. And much like Howard, his influence can still be seen in cities around the world, particularly in North America. Burnham is perhaps best known for his work on the Chicago Plan of 1909, one of the earliest comprehensive plans for a major city. He believed in the power of big ideas to shape the future. His words, "Make no little plans, they have no magic to stir men's blood," continue to inspire generations of architects, planners, and developers. Burnham's urban designs focused on grandeur, connectivity, and civic pride. In fact, he was instrumental in the development of the skyscraper. Think the Flatiron Building in New York and Union Station in Washington, D.C. Burnham pioneered the idea of zoning and emphasized the importance of open spaces, public parks, and broad boulevards that would make cities more livable and enjoyable. His plans for Chicago set a precedent for how cities could blend monumental design with practical urban infrastructure. From Howard's Garden City movement to Burnham's sky-high cities of grandeur, urban design over a century ago has shaped lives and livelihoods today. Both Howard and Burnham's quite different designs were united by a belief that cities should be built for people, not just to serve the needs of the moment, but to create environments that could endure and adapt to changing social and economic needs over time. A century on, their influence is clear in today's smart neighborhoods. Urban regeneration projects where technology has introduced a new layer of infrastructure, enabling flexibility, sustainability, and connectivity on an unprecedented scale. Where Howard and Burnham envisaged cities that balance nature and community and growth, smart neighborhoods use technology to ensure that these environments can thrive in the 21st century and beyond. The great urbanist Jane Jacobs said, "Designing a dream city is easy. Rebuilding a living one takes imagination." At the Global Smart Neighborhood Summit today, we're fortunate to hear visionaries who are actively bringing tomorrow's neighborhoods to life. They're putting in the hard work and they're applying creativity and imagination to make smart neighborhoods a reality. Over the next 90 minutes, we'll hear from speakers who are acting as the pioneers of today to create the neighbourhoods of tomorrow. We'll host a panel discussion that will bring together these leading voices on smart neighbourhood development. We'll also hear about the technology trends that are shaping the future of cities from WiredScore's own Global Director of Research and Development, Ranasinghe. But now, it's my great pleasure to kick off our first session. Please join me in welcoming Morwenna Hall, Executive Director and COO of Related Argent, in conversation with WiredScore's founder, Arie Barendrecht.
Thank you, William, and hello, everyone. I am delighted to be joined today at the Global Smart Neighborhood Summit by Morwenna Hall, Executive Director and COO from Related Argent. A chartered mechanical engineer by training, Morwenna has been at Related Argent for the last 13 years and is one of the leaders of the company's 180-acre Brent Cross Town development, Europe's first WiredScore and SmartScore certified neighborhood. Morwenna is responsible for the ground plane experience, retail, leisure, and public realm at the site, leading the way for smart neighborhoods globally. Morwenna's experience is the driving force behind large-scale regeneration projects like Brent Cross Town, King's Cross, and Tottenham Hale, make her a leading global voice on transforming cities, and I'm incredibly honored to be chatting with her today about that very topic. Welcome, and how are you?
I'm good. Thank you very much for having me.
Of course. We have a global audience today, and so why don't we just start by you introducing all of us to Brent Cross Town, and maybe starting with at the beginning, at the opportunity that you identified, and what you're creating there.
So as Related Argent, we're really passionate about improving urban life for everyone. Things that we look for in projects is sort of scale and diversity. We're also looking for opportunities to really innovate, to have inclusive growth through our financial investments. And all of these things come together at Brent Cross Town and more. Brent Cross Town is located in North London, in Barnet. Barnet Council earmarked this area for regeneration, and we won the opportunity to be their joint venture partner about 8 years ago, working on the project together. It's very much alive and on its way. We've got our first residents moving in later this year, which is an amazing milestone for the project. And we've already got 2 parks that have been open for a couple of years, giving a great opportunity for people to get to know the area. So in terms of what Brent Cross Town will be, it's going to be of significant scale. We've got about 6,700 homes coming forward, workspace for about 25,000 people. We're creating a whole new high street. It's going to have retail, leisure, community space. And also we've got 3 new schools that we're re-providing. And also an amazing asset. We've got over 50 acres of open space, squares, parks and playing fields. Wow. And Brent Cross is really well connected in northwest London. There's a new Thameslink station which now connects the town to central London in just as little as 12 minutes.
Amazing. Ambitious, exciting.
Very exciting, yeah.
When do you expect that the vision will be realized? How long? It's been 8 years since conception.
Yeah, as with many of these things, and we've learned through our regeneration projects, very difficult to put a definite time on these things. But it's very much a long-term investment and will see me through quite a bit of my own personal career, I think.
Yeah. Well, speaking of long-term, I think what's amazing about projects like this is the time horizon and starting with a vision. And I imagine you and Related Argent have a vision for what the future of urban living will be. Can you talk a little bit about that and sort of how that manifests itself at the project?
So I think one of the first things that we think about in terms of regeneration is obviously what's important to the area, what makes it tick already, and to kind of use that and enhance that. From a master planning perspective, what we really focus on is actually the sort of spaces between the buildings. So actually how you create the squares, the open spaces, the parks, the street networks. Those are the sorts of things that will actually and should be there for lifetimes, centuries. And then the buildings that sit in between these spaces are the things that inevitably will have to come and go and be flexible over time. And part of our vision absolutely is around experience. And, as you know, in terms of my own personal responsibilities, the importance of that public space for people and inclusivity and participation in a place and experience. What we've done at Brent Cross Town to try and sort of bring that to life for people is we've set out 4 pledges for the town. So I'll just sort of talk you through those.
These are the North Stars.
Yeah, and these help us with our sort of ongoing decision making as we go through the project. So the first one is around participation in sport and play, and this is really important to us. There's plenty of other places in London where you can go to watch sport, but this is actually about participation, about active and healthy lives, and about being playful and finding that kind of joy inside all of us and how we design to enable that for everyone. A second pledge is around strengthening connections. I think this is quite important in our sort of relationship. There's improving the physical connections around the town and actually how it connects better with its surroundings. But actually, it's around community building as well and connections between people, but also connections in terms of technology, connectivity, and how that enables people to actually have a sense of kind of interaction and belonging as well. Our third pledge is around a flourishing town, which builds off that connections piece. So we're doing a piece of work actually putting science behind the concept of flourishing, how people on an individual basis, but actually on a community basis, can really thrive in their environment. And it's something we commit to over the long term. We gather data and information to help us inform our decisions going forward.
So you can sort of goal set against this very fuzzy concept, but try to quantify it.
Exactly.
And measure yourself against it. Amazing.
Yeah. And then our final pledge, is around net zero. And again, at Brent Cross Town, working at the scale that we're at, not only do we have the opportunity around long-term investment in reducing embodied carbon and operational carbon in our buildings, but also in the kind of town infrastructure. So we're creating a centralized kind of district energy system with that kind of next-gen technology to enable us to hit that target.
I will come back to that. I wanted to ask, when we met, I asked you sort of what your inspiration was for this project and its level of ambition. And I expected you to say another real estate project somewhere else in the world that you had visited or learned about. And you didn't answer with a real estate project. You said something else, and I'd love for you to share that.
I'm hoping it's the same thing. I think for a start, there's 2 things. One is actually taking the best bits of lots of different places. These projects have to evolve over time, and actually you need to try and take the bits that are relevant and bring them in. I mean, when you're working on a project for decades, certain things are gonna hold true. You need to be really firm around this vision, but you need to be super flexible, because you're going to go through a cycle of the property market. Policy and politics are going to change. Technology is going to change. And so as you evolve over time, instead of saying, well, actually at the beginning of this project, my inspiration was X, you have to constantly be taking new inspiration from different places that are doing it differently. So we approach everything with an open mind, almost an open source approach, where we love sharing with others and hope others will share with us. And we have to be super adaptable.
Amazing. And
Blue zones.
Blue zones. Yeah. So this is a very personal thing. So, I love the concept of blue zones. If anyone hasn't seen the Netflix documentary, please watch it. It's a really fascinating program looking at how different cultures and places in the world have people who live to an average age that's higher than other areas, and kind of an area of social science. They look into what are the reasons for that in the different places. And again, they're actually quite different all over the world. And again, what I love about this concept is that you can take these nuggets of information, whether it's being active every day or whether it's about a sense of belonging and community, and how you can then take those practical examples and actually apply them to somewhere in London.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, I want to come back to Brent Cross Town and specifically technology, but first, let's sort of go very high level. We've noticed, as I'm sure you have, there's a lot more of these sort of large master planned communities being built around the world, which I think is super exciting for sort of the future of cities in general. What do you think is the driving force behind what seems like an increase in this type of large-scale regeneration?
I think because there have been examples that have come forward in the last couple of decades, I think it's a much better understanding of the benefits and the opportunities that it brings. I mean, inevitably, when you have the opportunity to do a large-scale regeneration, you're able to look at things in a much more of a strategic, planned way than you can if there's individual plots coming forward. And effectively, the only way to kind of control that, if you like, is through a planning process. I think the other thing that's really important about regeneration projects is the participation of governments or local authorities who absolutely want to participate and have a say in what happens, exactly as they should. And also the ability to then align much more strongly the private sector, government, and communities, because communities also rightly want to have a say. And actually, by going through a process of setting out a vision and a delivery kind of mechanism for a place, all of those parties can actually participate, and that helps set a vision that is most likely to succeed. But also everyone kind of has a better understanding of what's coming down the line.
So those benefits are financial, they're sort of collaborative, driving efficiencies, sort of you could have more of a mission-based project that really transforms a place.
Yeah, but I think also in the context of the world we live in now, with a housing crisis kind of in a lot of countries and a climate crisis, large regeneration projects are also an opportunity to actually turn the dial on delivering against those, but also role modeling what's possible.
Right.
And because they're delivered over time in a phased way, it showcases how actually you can take the learnings from one phase and apply it to the next phase, and therefore show kind of continuous improvement, which again can inspire, I guess, other places to follow the lead.
Makes sense. That's a good transition to technology. Of course, we're at a WiredScore event, so we must talk about it. How do you think about the role of smart technology at Brent Cross Town, and specifically given technology evolves quickly and real estate tends to move a bit more slowly as we're bringing creating new spaces and building new buildings? How do you think about the evolution of your use of technology at Brent Cross Town?
I mean, technology is hugely important. That's why this partnership's brilliant for us, and we're very excited about it. I think firstly and foremost, though, we still absolutely believe in the human experience. And for us, technology has to be there to kind of complement and supplement that human experience. As long-term investors in a place, also, we're not looking for sort of short-term gimmicks or kind of marketing lines, if you like. It is about things that can genuinely make a difference to our projects. We have learned quite a lot of lessons over the lifetime of some of our other projects in the business about what sort of things we think are important to help give us that flexibility and chance to succeed. So it's things like keeping more control over critical infrastructure, so that actually we are in control of being able to kind of adapt and evolve that over time. It's also about understanding that technology makes people feel more connected and actually can make them feel safer. But actually we have a responsibility to make sure that we deliver technology, alongside proper governance and guidelines, and we can give assurance to people. I think that's why it's really important the work we're doing with you, because actually being able to benchmark how we're doing on an industry standard level is really important for us to do. We can use it to talk to our customers and stakeholders to say, actually, we are genuinely doing something special, and being part of your community as well. We can learn from what you guys are doing, what your other partners are doing, in that kind of open source way.
There's a couple of things I love about what you've shared. One is this sort of concept of open source. And I don't think you hear that often in real estate. People traditionally have been quite guarded. And what we believe at WiredScore, and clearly what you believe, is that we're never going to build the types of places that inspire us, that can thrive for decades, unless we're sharing what we're learning along the way. And second, clearly you think about technology not just as its own vertical, but as an enabler across all of the main things you're trying to achieve: community, sustainability, inspiration. It's what powers all of the pledges that you're aiming for.
Yeah. And the other thing that we acknowledge is it absolutely takes investment So we've invested in our own team. We've actually got a kind of dedicated prop tech and digital team within our business now that's out there meeting startups, understanding what technology is coming forward, and then helping us actually pilot schemes. So we pilot technology often within our own business before we'd roll it out in the portfolio and learn about it, understand, help those businesses grow. And then the other thing is that we also acknowledge, like you said, it takes a cast of thousands to deliver these projects. So we actually need to support and encourage our supply chain. So we run quite a few different initiatives to do that. One example would be our health and safety innovation kind of challenge, where we put it out to our supply chain to come up with ideas of ways that they can actually kind of move the dial on health and safety. And quite a lot of the, and we co-invest with them, and quite a lot of the ideas that come forward are often quite technology-based. We've had things, for example, about kind of smartwatches that help operatives understand how long they've been working on site and whether they've been doing activities to a level where they need to take a break. We've also done other things looking at things like drone cleaning of buildings instead of abseiling. Those sort of things.
I very much support that. That's the most terrifying.
I wouldn't want to do it.
I love that. I love like this idea that technology underpins our well-being or can be the biggest driver of how we stay safe and healthy. I think is so important, but often thought of as a separate topic to health and wellness instead of a driver. Why don't we sort of pull out our crystal balls as we come to a conclusion here, and I'll ask you to look 5 or 10 years down the road. What are some of the big shifts that you think will happen in terms of urban planning and development?
I think the first thing is maybe less of a complete shift, but a sort of a growth of what we already see happening in the sector. And that's around kind of responsibility. So I think there's going to be an increased drive around ESG, but not just talking about it, actually being able to record, document kind of data, understand impact. I think there will continue to be big drivers around community building as well. You know, placemaking has been something that's kind of grown as a concept over the sort of the last 10, 15 years, but actually now making a place isn't kind of good enough. Actually, the next frontier is actually enabling communities to grow and to thrive and to connect with each other. From a sort of technology perspective, what's potentially going to come, I think what I find fascinating is when we started King's Cross, the iPhone wasn't even released. And when we opened our first buildings at King's Cross, it was kind of a new technology, but only like, I think it was about less than 50% of the UK population at that point had a smartphone. It comes back to my point earlier about a human experience. King's Cross is kind of grown and thrived through that. And what we've had to do is to embed the technology, grow the technology, adapt the technology as we have come through the project. Some things that we're looking at from Brent Cross Town perspective, a couple of things, kind of themes, really focus, we think, for the next sort of 5 to 10 years, is around our sort of how we engage with people about the project. That's everything from kind of how we run our planning public consultations and how we layer in the digital. It's how we make people aware of volunteering opportunities, what events are coming forward so that they can participate. And things like that. And that's, hugely important to us. And then also coming back to the Flourishing Index, I think it's that commitment to understand, trying to really understand better what we're doing well, where there are unintended consequences through information and data that, you know, a lot of which will be kind of collected either from technology itself or through a sort of digital, in a digital way. And how we can use that to inform the future of the project. Customer experience is hugely important. You can't just be a landlord or an owner these days. That is not the expectation. There is an expectation on us to deliver experience, and I think that's really exciting for us, and it's a way that, as related Argent, we have approached our projects to date.
Relationship.
Yeah, we're in a relationship, and relationships and partnering is hugely important. And again, just coming back, that's why we're so excited to be working with you guys at WiredScore, because actually being able to demonstrate what we're doing and be able to talk about it and say, actually, we're trying really hard here and to be market leading and to provide this best experience will hopefully make Brent Cross Town a really great place to
to be?
I'm confident it will. I think we're both passionate about the future of cities, as is the people in the audience today. And I think one of the key aspects about the future of cities is going to be the ambition and execution of large-scale developers like related Argent and some of the amazing folks that we're working with around the world. And most important, which I think you touched on numerous times, is the human element here. You talked about customer experience and community, and ultimately focusing on the human and how we can make the human experience sort of flourish in the years to come. And it sounds like you have a fantastic plan well on its way. And with that, Morwenna, thank you so much for your time and your amazing work.
Thank you.
And great spending time with you. Back to you, William.
Thank you, Morwenna and Arie. What Related Argent and Barnet Council are doing at Brent Cross Town is really exciting. And it was great to hear Morwenna talk about their commitment to an open source approach to development. Last month, I was able to visit Brent Cross Town, and I was inspired by how the team is creating public spaces and mixed-use building that prioritize the human experience, especially through their innovative Flourishing Index. Only 2 miles away from the Ebenezer Howard-inspired Hampstead Garden suburb, Brent Cross Town demonstrates what a neighbourhood fit for the next century looks like. Next, I'm thrilled to announce our next session, a panel discussion hosted by Emily Wright.
Thank you, William, and hello and welcome to this panel discussion, how innovative neighbourhood design is creating resilient, sustainable and inspired communities around the world as part of WiredScore's Global Smart Neighbourhood Summit. I'm Emily Wright, real estate and innovation journalist and head of content at Cretech, and you've got me for the next 30 minutes or so as I moderate this panel, and what a panel and discussion it's going to be. After hearing that fascinating conversation between Arie and Morwenna all around Brent Cross Town, we're now going to be delving into some of the other major neighbourhood developments going on around the world, and who better to talk about that than the people best placed and closest to them. So I'm delighted to be joined today by Adam Mitchell, Senior Vice President Low Tide Properties, Michael Delfs, Urban Designer and Development Executive at British Land, Yasser Ahmed, Vice President of Buildings at Schneider Electric, and Tommy Crowley, Vice President, Asia Pacific, WiredScore. So we're going to kick off, if you don't mind, just with the briefest of introductions in terms of how your role fits into the topic that we're discussing today and why it's such an important topic to be discussing. So Adam, let's start with you.
Sure. Yeah, as you mentioned, as Senior Vice President at Low Tide Properties, I'm responsible for providing a cohesive strategic direction to our asset management, development, and property management functions. Specific to this topic, we are currently developing a project in the city of Vancouver called the South Flats. It's about a 2.4 million square foot, fully mixed use community anchored by 2 rapid transit stations. And so we've had a really strong push to incorporate new technology and innovation into that project, because it really is intended to be a home for the creative and innovative economic sectors in Vancouver. Those groups have been kind of quite dispersed throughout the city traditionally, and we're hoping that we can provide a hub for them to come together.
Thank you very much. Same question to Michael.
I'm an urban designer and developer. I've spent the last 9 years working with British Land and Canada Water, where we have a 53-acre site with a very flexible planning permission to develop out 6 million square feet of mixed-use development. Canada Water is a very unique location in London, halfway between London Bridge and Canary Wharf, 2 major public parks on both sides and fantastic transportation connectivity. And our project is to build a new central London neighbourhood that both serves the existing historic community and attracts businesses and people from around London.
Thank you very much. And Yasser?
Yeah, I represent the tech side of the industry. With our company, we are mandated to decarbonize and digitize the built environment. It's a big business for Schneider Electric, and it's a big also drive and momentum for the region I'm serving. I'm talking to you today from Middle East, specifically from Saudi Arabia. So that's a big topic here in everyone's agenda, and Schneider is really working closely with other stakeholders, be it the investors, developers, even service provider in the industry, to push the boundaries around digitization and decarbonization of our buildings and cities.
Thank you very much. And Tommy.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm the VP for Asia Pacific, so I have the great joy on this panel of representing both WiredScore, but also the Asia Pacific region. WiredScore is the organisation that sets the standard for technology excellence in real estate globally via our certifications. And over the last 11 years, we've worked across over 5,000 buildings, 1 billion square feet, and 40 countries. We've got to a really privileged position of having truly global insights into what people want from the places they spend time in, but also what technology foundations landlords and developers need to put in place and design to meet those needs. So now, as we kind of move into talking today about neighbourhoods or full district design, it's really about what those developers need to have in place to enable and deliver the kind of enable and deliver kind of thriving, inspirational places for people to live, work and play. And we hope to kind of bring that same expertise from single buildings into the neighbourhood environment.
Thank you very much. So we're going to kick off our discussion around a bit of scene setting, but it's not the scene setting whereby we don't delve into important details. It's really crucial. And I wanted to ask each of you just to sort of quickly explain what the major challenges you are all coming up against in your individual areas of expertise or individual neighbourhoods, and also what some of the big trends you're seeing at the moment around this subject is. So actually, let's start with you again, Tommy, and we'll work our way back through the panel.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing from the developers themselves here. But I think, look, from our perspective, working here in APAC across many kind of mega projects, Thailand, Hong Kong, Singapore, the really major challenges we see with these massive neighbourhood projects is just the sheer complexity. So the major change we've seen is the move for private developers to take a lead in this space. You know, governments for a long time have really developed areas. The URA in Singapore is famous for it. But the complexity of navigating all these different stakeholders, the complexity of delivering multiple asset classes and getting all the different technology use cases and systems to work together over a multi-phase, multi-years development. And then add to that, obviously, the kind of financial complexity, which kind of takes you back to the stakeholders of getting, as a private developer, all of these funds together and getting it moving forward. So for me, it all ties back to the simple word complexity as the major challenge we see.
Thank you very much. And Yasser, the biggest challenges you're coming up against and the major trends that you're seeing in this space.
It's fascinating to talk about that after Tommy. Although we are coming from two different parts of the world, there are so many keywords she used. I would echo, but I would add to this 2 elements in the challenges side and 4 elements in the trends. So the first one on the challenges side, I would say the misalignment between different ecosystem players. And here I'm talking in the context of Middle East specifically, where you have the finance and the investor on one side, you have the regulators and the government that's still trying to find their way about putting the right frameworks. You have the developers and the asset managers, and then you have the contractors and the other value chain players like technology provider and service providers. So between this fabric of ecosystem players, there is always this kind of, I would say, very complex landscape. For example, a developer would pretty much be focused on very futuristic approach in sustainability and resilience that does not necessarily translate into the real requisition when it comes to project that is being tendered in the market. So somehow this continuity of approach and vision is not ensured, at least in the Middle East Africa context. The other challenge that I see in our market specifically is the talent shortage, which is a very pressing element. So the technology is moving in a fast pace in decarbonization and digitization, and it's not easy every time to find the right resources and the right talent to respond to that. This is on the challenge side. On the trend side, I'll go very quick and straight to the point. The first trend, it's obviously population and urbanization. That's a very prominent trend in our region, specifically Middle East. Sustainability, it's in everyone's agenda currently. Look at what's happening in Saudi Arabia. Look at how Saudi is expressing the interest and the willingness to pay premium for sustainable development. NEOM, as an example. Digital, big trend around digital and the penetration of IoT, AI currently. And finally, again, the skill shortage is also one of the trends that continuously putting pressure on every stakeholder player in our industry.
Thank you very much. Michael, same two questions to you, challenges and trends.
Over the last 20 years, the idea that really good mixed-use development is more valuable than the sum of its parts has become fairly well understood. That's the idea that offices, homes, retail can perform well on their own, but when you bring those uses together around really great realm and an active ground plane, it creates additional value that washes over everything around it. What's less well understood is how long these projects take. Large-scale, multi-phase, mixed-use projects are measured in decades, not years. To be successful, you really need to believe in the vision of what you're creating and maintain that belief even as the world changes around you. We're very lucky in that respect to have two organizations in British Land and Australian Super that are well capitalized and very committed to that vision of long-term mixed-use value that we're creating at Canada Water. But it's not easy. In terms of global trends, radical reuse of existing buildings and spaces rather than knocking them down and building new. That's really being pushed by a recognition of how wasteful the demolish and rebuild approach is, particularly in terms of embodied carbon. But also, people can do amazing things in places you would never expect it if you give them a chance. When we bought the Printworks site, everyone thought we would knock it down and build a load of flats. But we partnered with a company, Broadwick, to operate it as a temporary cultural venue. And they have turned it into the most extraordinary and magical place. It was named second best nightclub in the world. It's been in over a dozen major movies. And it's that mixture of the ineffable quality of that big old factory combined with the genius of some incredibly creative and committed people who we're very lucky to work with. And just last week, we were granted planning permission to keep that venue in the Printworks permanently.
Brilliant. I saw that. Yeah, excellent. Thank you very much. And finally, Adam, challenges and trends.
Well, certainly complexity jumps to top of mind with projects of this scale. But, for us, our project is very unique to Vancouver and it's new for the city. So we're looking at other projects around the world and trying to understand what makes them great places for people to be, whether it's to live, work, or play. Projects like King's Cross in London or Station F in Paris, One Bangkok. But what's unique about all these projects is that they're very specific to their market. So there's not a formula for a large mixed-use master plan project that you can just take from one city to the other. So we've had to spend a lot of time figuring out what will work in the Vancouver context for something like that. The other challenge is just we have to push the bounds of land use, zoning, and permitting to make these projects economically viable and resilient and sustainable. And it's not just, give us more density and that will solve all the problem, because there's a point of diminishing returns there. We have to look at pushing the bounds with how we're allowed to operate these spaces, how we're allowed to tenant them. And that then brings in the city or various levels of municipal and provincial governments to try and get them to push the boundaries of what their staff can do. So it's bringing all stakeholders to the table, and that can get complex for sure. But it is, I think, in the pursuit of doing something, again, very unique to the city.
Thank you very much. Brilliant. And there were mention there of one of the big challenges being sustainability. So let's come on to talk about that in a bit more detail. So sustainability, obviously, as we all know, it's at the heart of modern urban planning. So how does your company ensure that sustainability is embedded at every stage of the neighbourhood experience? So Michael, could we come to you on that question, please?
Thanks, Emily. British Land is a leader in sustainability for the built environment. I'm lucky to have colleagues who are dedicated to the environmental and socioeconomic sides of sustainability. I tend to focus on reducing carbon emissions. Reducing carbon emissions means, one, reducing embodied carbon in new developments, and two, reducing carbon emissions in the operation of our buildings. Our industry has a real challenge because buildings are generally made out of an unbelievable quantity of concrete, steel, aluminium, and glass. And the carbon emissions embodied in all of that material are simply enormous. So we have to design buildings more efficiently. We have to recycle building materials rather than throwing them in the skip. And we have to drive innovation and adoption in low carbon materials, really all the way from the lab bench right through the supply chain to the construction site. On the operational side, we need more energy efficient, smarter buildings that don't require massive amounts of energy to heat and cool, and that are equipped with sensors and systems that automatically turn things off or turn things down when they're not in use. I think 5-6 years ago, I was sort of a smart building skeptic, but it seems like energy efficiency is really the killer app for smart buildings. It doesn't need a lot of bells and whistles, but if a building can't turn itself down on a Friday afternoon when occupancy might be 10 or 20 or 30% of peak, then it is just pumping carbon into the atmosphere unnecessarily.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. And you mentioned some technologies there. So it would be great if we could go into that in a bit more detail, talking about some of the role that technology and innovation plays in enhancing sustainability and resilience in mixed use developments. So Yasser, could we come to you on that question?
In fact, I couldn't agree more with Michael and his approach. And I have good news for him. In fact, we recently modeled how far we can go in terms of avoiding carbon emission in our building. And the study that we have launched along with WSP is showing to us that up to 77% of carbon emission could be avoided with the existing technologies. I'm not talking about something disruptive. I'm talking about the technology that we have access to today. And we can categorize this technology into two main big titles. The first one is electric, and the second one is digital. If I start by the second one, digital is the main recipe if you would like to unlock efficiency. So it's said that you cannot manage what you cannot measure. So digital is the enabler for this measurement and management that will yield the reduction and efficiency that Michael referred to. The other aspect is electrification. It's known that electricity is the best vector for decarbonization, given that we are supplying this electricity from the right sources. So with these two technology pillars working in synergy with each other, we can really see a future of sustainable built environment around us. And the framework is very, very easy. We always advocate for starting by reduction, so efficiency, again, as Michael was mentioning. Here, the automation and AI and IoT technologies are already there, so buildings can immediately leverage that. The second element is replacement. So that's about substituting anything that we burn inside buildings by renewables. Mainly connecting the buildings with the right energy sources. And the third element is electrification. So the best use case here we can talk about is electric vehicle. So when you think about this technology, it's something that is available today. At the sideline of this, there is an emerging technology of AI that still we are in a very early stage, but we started to see some very promising use cases of AI penetration inside the built environment. And we can shed more light about that later.
Thank you very much. Excellent answer. Tommy, same question to you around those technologies and how they're being successfully integrated in terms of sustainability.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. I always find it funny or slightly disappointing on panels when people sort of continually agree with each other. And so I'm disappointed in myself to not be able to disagree with Michael or Yasser, because I think they've captured it brilliantly. I think the key thing here for me is, look, make it super basic. Technology is really just an enabling mechanism, right? It's a delivery mechanism to enable an outcome. And the two outcomes we're talking about here are sustainability and resiliency. So if you take neighbourhoods back to the core concept of developing communities where we're living, working, socialising all as one, technology plays a critical delivery role in lots of pieces of that. So sustainability, I mean, Michael and Yasser have talked through that really well. Delivery of existing technology, saving 77% was the stat that Yasser just gave us. I think the piece that takes it to a new exciting level on the neighbourhood scale, as opposed to the single site smart building, is one, the drive to decarbonise across the full neighbourhood and the electrification across the full neighbourhood is all going to require a really strong technology foundation and opens up really new exciting opportunities. Because if you think about all those different systems talking to each other across different asset classes and across, roads around the different neighbourhood, etc., and actually capturing data that tracks demand and consumption, there's a real opportunity there to drive kind of efficiency to the next level. So that's the first thing is it's taking existing technology but putting it on a bigger scale. And then secondly, I think the thing that's really exciting is just the opportunity here we have to capture that data across all of those different asset classes to enable learning more quickly and layering all those different data sets. So something that retail does really well might be placemaking or engagement. How can we take that and drive it into different asset classes? And you can push that, of course, into sustainability. So how can we learn from across the whole environment to really change those outcomes? So for me, it's really about connection, data capture across the full whole to really optimize those outcomes. And I think when it comes to resiliency, and I will define resiliency here as resiliency against future change, technology adds a really exciting layer, because if we set our technology up in a certain way, it will enable us to track and measure how people are using spaces. And over time, what that will mean is we can adapt the environment to suit different behaviours, to suit different need cases, etc., etc. So I think technology not only presents a really exciting kind of resiliency measure in terms of sustainability, let's make the planet last longer, let's try and protect against mass energy consumption, but also how do we adapt these spaces? We need these neighbourhoods to stand the test of time for 50, 100 years. If we set them up right today with the right technology in place in a flexible, interoperable infrastructure, we'll be able to really measure how things are being used and adapt our environment further to suit kind of our needs going forward. So they're the only two things I'd add on top of what the panel's already said.
Thank you. And I know that we're going to be going into resiliency, that's a hard word to say sometimes, in a bit more detail in a minute. And that brings me on to my next question, which is all around designing for communities. So how does neighbourhood design contribute to the creation of inspired and vibrant communities? And it'd be great to get some examples within those answers. So I think we're going to start with you, Adam, on that one.
Sure. Well, I think you have to be thinking about designing communities to make them places where people choose to come, not have to come. I think that's been one of the big shifts over the past 3 to 5 years, is just space utilization and how people want to engage with it and how technology plays a role in that. I think as a developer, we don't want to try and predict specific technologies. We just want our space, and in particular, the public realm, because that's the most user-facing part of our projects. We want that space to be able to respond to whatever technology needs are in the future. So, if we were sitting here 2-3 years ago, we might be talking about everyone will be working in the metaverse, but that didn't come to fruition. So we don't want to try and predict that. And so for us, when we actually are designing for community interaction in mind, we're doing things like making sure we have an uninterrupted cable network throughout our project. And it is a bit of a challenge because we do have a 2.4 mile long stretch we're working with. So it's quite a bit of cabling, but we want to be able to control that from a central hub so we can't have interruption in that. We want to be able to collect the relevant data. I know some of the other panelists have talked about data collection and usage, and it's obviously really important. But just as important as that is we want building systems with things like open APIs so that they can respond to the learning that we're getting from that data and be able to respond to how users are interacting with the space. So for us, it's about a technology backbone that is responsive without being too predictive about what the users of the space may need.
Thank you very much. Michael, same question to you.
Not everybody will use the buildings you develop, but everybody who comes to a neighborhood will use the public realm. So we choose to lead very strongly with not just good, but really amazing public realm. The first major buildings in Canada Water will complete over the coming months. But the first thing we are opening is the completely transformed 5.5 acre Canada Dock right in the middle of the development. We've dredged, cleaned, replanted 1.5 acres of beautiful biodiverse wetland. We've built a beautiful red, sustainably sourced timber bridge that we use in and out of the trees and the water. And all around the edges of the dock are places for people to sit and enjoy the scenery and be around one another. And everyone, whether you're an existing resident or a tenant or someone visiting, will get to use that dock and benefit from being in that beautiful place.
Thank you very much. Another excellent answer there. So looking to the future, we did touch on some trends earlier on in our discussion, but it'd be really great to delve into some of those in just a little bit more detail. So trends on innovations in neighbourhood development that you think will fundamentally reshape the way we approach urban living in the next decade. So just a small question there. So if Yasser, could you answer that one first, please? I know it's a big question and it's a long time span.
Yeah. I'll go short, and I will select only one of the existing exciting trends ahead of us, and no better than AI these days. If you look at the full life cycle of neighborhoods, so AI can play a very prominent role in design phase. So a lot of between research or even industrialized application currently are leveraging AI to help the designers to make the right choices. Michael was talking earlier about embodied carbon. This is one of the things that AI, with the capacity to analyze big set of data coming from various sources, can give a very credible advice for the designers to make the right choices in this side. In the operational side of the life cycle, AI is very useful when it comes to addressing people centricity, which is at the heart of the framework that SmartScore is advocating for when it comes to neighborhoods. So how we can provide a very personalized experience using AI and make the buildings and spaces more cognitive. Similarly, on the energy efficiency side, so this kind of dynamic response of buildings, depending on the changing utilization and the changing energy dynamics of the buildings, is one of the things that AI can be very helpful for. And lastly, on this side, the preparing the buildings and cities for energy transition. There is a big momentum around prosumers, which is a concept where the buildings can act as consumer at some time and a producer of energy at other times. So this bilateral flow of energy and the connection between different buildings and different assets is better served with a powerful AI sitting in between and making sure that we are cutting all the inefficiencies from this equation. So these are some examples of AI use cases.
Thank you. And I know that everyone's now sort of constricted to speaking quickly and really honing in. So I really appreciate that. Thank you. As we come to the end of our session. But Adam, same question to you.
Yeah, I think one of the most exciting trends that we're paying attention to is just the changing way that people are using space throughout a day. Someone may come into the office, work for a few hours, then go work from a cafe, then go about their day and then log back in at the end of the day from home, and just making sure we're thinking about that user journey and how our space can respond to that. And so, you may have a main office lobby that has to be 3 different things throughout the day. And for us, what's exciting about that is then it opens up different avenues to tenant that space or create partnerships with tenants or other users to activate space in times where traditionally it may not have. And so there's certainly some exciting new opportunities that are emerging just based on the way that people's day-to-day lives have changed over the past 3 to 5 years.
Thank you very much. And Michael, that question to you too, please.
The fact that people can choose to work from home, some or all of the time, that freedom to choose how and where they work and live, that's a scary thing for a lot of our industry. But generally, when people have more choice, they choose better things. And throughout history, cities have been really good at offering people the best choice, whether it's job opportunities or social environments or culture or excitement. And the opportunity we have in creating a substantially new neighborhood is to think about and deliver a place that people will want to come to work in and live in and visit, even when they have that benefit of choice. A lot of neighborhoods are going to have to go through a difficult process of adaptation, but we have a chance to build it in from the start.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Unbelievably, we've got about just over a minute left. So with that minute, we're going to use it wisely and we're going to do some final takeaways. I could talk about this with you guys for ages, but we don't have ages. We have that minute. So final thoughts from each of you, please, after what has been a real sort of whistle-stop tour of some amazing developments. So Tommy, starting with you.
Sure. I think for me, I leave really excited, thanks to our future panelists, about the role that technology will play in creating really sustainable, resilient and inspiring places for us all to kind of live, work and play in. But I think the thing I leave with is, for that vision to become true, it's going to require great leadership. We've heard all about the challenges, the complexities. It's going to require civic engagement, because if you're going to use technology, you need to make sure people know how to engage with it, how to use it and kind of reap the benefits. And finally, it's going to require really robust policies when it comes to cyber data security, so that we can all use kind of technology responsibly for it to deliver the best outcomes. So I think that's my final kind of takeaway for the session.
Thank you. And Yasser, final thoughts?
In neighborhood, think always systems, not standalone solutions. So energy, water, transportation, design, operation. So think in this integrated manner across the life cycle.
Brilliant. Thank you. Succinct, to the point. Love it. Thank you so much. Michael.
We tend to think of cities as collections of buildings or infrastructure or maybe economies, but fundamentally a city is people. And if we stay focused on designing places that people want to come to and spend time in, then over the long term, value will follow people.
Thank you very much. And finally, Adam.
Yeah, I echo that. The technology has to enhance the experience of people coming to a place and being around other people. And so I think we can't lose sight of that as we design and implement technology into these projects.
Wow, we did it. We managed to get everything into the time frame. There was so much to talk about, so many amazing points, some absolutely fantastic panelists as well. Thank you so much to all of you for joining me today for what has been an absolutely invaluable addition to WiredScore's Global Smart Neighbourhood Summit. Thank you so much. What more can I say? It's been brilliant.
Thank you, Emily, Yasser, Adam, Tommy and Michael for that engaging and wide-reaching discussion. There's much to take away. But I think what particularly resonated with me was Yasser's point about viewing neighbourhoods as interconnected systems rather than standalone solutions. As he put it, this holistic approach allows us to make decisions that are not only economically sound, but also deliver the large-scale outcomes we want for the people who live and work in these areas. Michael's reminder that cities are fundamentally about people and that value follows people is also key. As we move into the final session of today's summit, I'm pleased to introduce my colleague Sanj, who will take us through the technology trends shaping the future of cities. He'll be joined by Simon Tang, who will share insights on how large-scale development in Hong Kong is preparing for inevitable technological advancements through thoughtful and innovative design. Over to you, Sanj.
Thanks, William, and welcome everyone. Today, we'll explore the tech trends that are redefining our urban landscapes. This isn't just about the next big thing. It's about understanding how technology will fundamentally change how we live, work, and interact in our cities. We define a smart neighbourhood as one that leverages digital technology to provide connected, safe, sustainable, and inspiring experiences. As touched on in the panel, neighbourhoods' success will be down to how their overall impact is greater than the sum of the parts of their individual buildings, both from an experience and operations perspective. As such, the technology in neighbourhoods has to focus on how it can scale both delivering experiences and effective operations, creating communities and delivering the sustainable futures we desire. The success of this technology implementation must be measured through the impact it has on how we, as individuals, use these curated spaces, whether that's for living, working, or visiting. Today, I'm going to talk you through 2 technology trends that will impact successful rollout of both at-scale effective operations and at-scale experience delivery. Firstly, the criticality of a robust data security strategy to enable effective operations. And secondly, how AI should be utilised to accelerate and elevate the experience that neighbourhoods deliver, so we can create urban environments that truly work for us. At scale, operations across a neighbourhood are a must-have to deliver the far-reaching sustainability endeavours that all neighbourhoods aspire to. This, therefore, was rightly a focus of the panel. However, working at this scale introduces even greater pressure on data security, which therefore must become top of mind to ensure digitised operations can be delivered. There are 2 key aspects to data security: cybersecurity and data ethics. Cybersecurity. Corporate IT systems and building technology systems are under ever-increasing pressures of malicious attacks. When looked at a neighbourhood level, we're introduced to a wider surface area than ever, and a cohesive, proactive approach to cybersecurity will be needed. In particular, building systems and public realm infrastructure technology need to be a key area of focus, as they present as new vectors for attack and traditionally have not had the same level of resilience applied to them. Data ethics. An ethical approach to data usage needs to be a key part of any neighbourhood strategy. This not only covers the management of data, but defines the evolving guardrails needed to ensure the massive data available to us is used appropriately. By focusing on the return of experience rather than the return on investment when defining how data is used, will drive the industry to focus on this ethical use of data. Optimised operations that don't have the buy-in at a civic level will fail to deliver the economic and sustainability performance benefits they could. So what does this mean for neighbourhoods? Cybersecurity excellence will be the baseline, not a luxury. The neighbourhoods that stand out will be those that prioritise data ethics and build trust with their residents. It's about creating a sense of security and responsibility in our increasingly connected urban environments. In terms of how we live in neighbourhoods, security requirements will extend from the on-site and in-building security to include an individual's cybersecurity needs. For workers in neighbourhoods, the negative impact of poor data ethics and cybersecurity practices will lead to well-being impacts comparable to how CO2 levels are perceived to impact productivity in poorly ventilated meeting rooms today. And for visitors, ensuring they feel cyber safe and that their data is protected from the moment they enter the neighbourhood will be key to ensuring the public realm can continue to deliver optimised operations that can meet ambitious sustainability goals. Now, I want to take you through the second trend of how AI should be utilised to accelerate and elevate the experience that neighbourhoods deliver. At-scale experience delivery across a neighbourhood is key to the community building aspect that neighbourhoods must deliver. Again, this was touched on in the panel, both in terms of activation of the public realm and also the creation of this civic engagement to bring disparate groups together into a singular community. When working at this scale, AI unlocks huge opportunities to use data and insight to deliver these experiences. There are 2 types of AI that will play a significant role in delivering experiences at scale: machine learning AI and generative AI. Machine learning AI is used to predict outputs, such as autocomplete, and run data analysis and insight activities. It runs in the background of most of the tools we use today, both from an IT and operational technology perspective. Even though machine learning is already all around us, powering prediction engines and data analysis, its power is not to be underestimated. Machine learning AI can be used to develop curated experiences to drive the best neighborhood for each of us based on predicted use and preferences. Generative AI is the Alamo technology of the last 2 years, since the launch of ChatGPT 3. It creates content based on having a vast knowledge of what's happened in the past, along with a conversational user interface, and it's evolved from a personal chatbot to something that promises to create videos, pictures, music, or even computer games on demand. This allows it to deliver a personalized means of communications that can be created via tailored content for style and tone of voice for individuals. So what does this mean for neighborhoods? Really, the rate at which data can be fed into these AI systems will become the leading factor that differentiates performance between neighborhoods. From a machine learning AI perspective, we need to move from it being used for predictive maintenance optimization for it to be used to predict user experience. And this will make sure that we have the maximum success of what user experience can be delivered within a neighborhood. And for generative AI, we need to start using it to create personalized content, be that written or visual, that will deliver a personalized experience and will create communities. In terms of how we live in neighborhoods, enhanced community creation will become a baseline expectation, and AI can accelerate the creation of community via predictive experience analysis and insight. For workers in neighborhoods, they'll be utilizing machine learning and generative AI tools more and more in the way they work. Therefore, their needs for the neighborhood to deliver best-in-class internet connectivity to support these AI tools will become paramount. And for visitors, a personal experience will become the standard expectation. These curated personal experiences can be rapidly created via generative AI for all users of the space. So, we've been through the technology trends that will drive neighborhood success. From the criticality of a robust data security strategy to enable effective operations, and how AI should be utilized to accelerate and elevate the experience that neighborhoods deliver. For the next part of this presentation, it's a pleasure to get insight on the implementation of these technologies by Simon Tang of HSITP. Over to you, Simon.
Thank you, Sanj, for the warm introduction, and hello to everyone who has joined the Global Smart Neighborhood Summit. It's my pleasure to share with you more about HSITP. With this unprecedented and strategic location in the Lok Ma Chau Loop, Hong Kong's Shenzhen Innovation and Technology Park, HSITP in short, is developed with a vision to become a global knowledge hub and INT center through leveraging the unique synergistic development of the one zone, two parks supported by both the mainland China and the Hong Kong Special Administration Region government policies. Our goal is to design and develop the park to be not only aesthetically pleasing, but also to continuously provide an optimal working and living environment, as well as to be in harmony with the nature surrounding us. State-of-the-art infrastructure is deployed in the park to provide an agile environment for new technology development, testing, and implementation. Always connected is our principle to engage the tenants, to discover the vibrant neighborhood, to link with the innovative and technology hub across the border, and to closely engage with the opportunities around the world. To nurture the leading research institutes and technology enterprises in the park, we adhere to the smart design concept, where specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and time-based parameters will continuously be available to make this a living park, and that communication between people, between machines, and between people and machines are effectively established to achieve our goal. In our design development, we have incorporated innovative mobile applications to provide intuitive park-wide service information, trackable real-time air quality data, as well as smart residential experiences in the telecommunication settings. In addition, our smart technology strategy focuses on optimizing energy conservation and minimizing carbon footprint to shape a sustainable future. massive park-wide performance data on energy consumption, waste, and regenerative power are consolidated and creatively presented, visually to maximize the effectiveness in the energy management decision-making process. We are honored that our park, the HSITP, is recognized as the first SmartScore and WiredScore neighborhood in the Asia-Pacific region. This demonstrates our commitment to be at the forefront of making a difference to the way we think and approach the design and development of a connected living and working community. Thanks again, and back to you, Sanj.
Thanks, Simon. It's great to see how the scaling of experience delivery and effective operations is already becoming a reality, and that technology is at the foundation of that evolution. Thank you for your time today, and I welcome William back to the stage for some Q&A.
Thank you, Sanj. I've now got a couple of questions for you that were submitted in advance of the summit.
Great.
So firstly, it was not a huge surprise to hear AI identified as one of the major tech trends that will influence neighborhood developments in the years to come. Whilst the future trend is delivering experiences enhanced by AI, can you talk about applications of AI that we're already seeing at the neighborhoods that we've certified to date?
Great question. And I think I really want to hark back to what Yasser said on the panel about how they're using AI to really drive their sustainability goals. And this is super important. It's practically the most important thing that any neighborhood could be doing today is making sure that we're using energy efficiently and moving to electrification. And it's really exciting to see across all of our neighborhoods how AI is being utilized today to gather data and understand usage to drive sustainability agendas and visions that all of our neighborhoods really have at the heart of what they're doing.
Amazing, thank you. And then as the second question, you also touched on data ethics, which will undoubtedly become more of a hot topic in the industry in the years to come. What lessons are we already starting to apply from past experiences to get to where we need to be as fast as possible?
I think the real thing, again, looking back at the panel, what Adam and Tommy said around the people involved. Adam touched on just how many people are needed and different personas from for the development, the design, the operations of neighborhoods. And all of those different stakeholders have to come together with a unified vision of what they're going to do with data. And then Tommy touched on the fact that, to build that civic enablement, you're bringing people from all kinds of different backgrounds together into a new city, into a new neighborhood, and that community has to be generated. And really where you've got this position of all these different people both on using the space and having to operate the space, it's just critical that they trust the data that they're sharing and that there's a common view on how the data is being used and operational level to make sure that top-down strategy can really be executed in a way that will drive that civic engagement that Tommy touched on.
Thank you. So, with that, we've reached the end of our Global Smart Neighborhood Summit. I hope you're leaving today with fresh insights and perspectives on the future of urban design. Personally, I know that I leave with an even deeper appreciation for the innovation happening across our incredible group of neighborhood partners. I'm also proud of the role WiredScore is playing in setting the standard for technological excellence in neighborhood projects around the world. Our Global Smart Neighborhood celebration continues until the end of this month on our social media channels, so do be sure to follow us there. If you'd like to dive deeper into the future of smart neighborhoods, you can download our recently published Smart Neighborhoods white paper from our website. The paper explores how technology can be harnessed to create connected, safe, sustainable and inspiring environments, and it features additional case studies from around the world. So with that, thank you once again, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Goodbye.